Kielty, plumbing, heating, cooling, celebrating 15 years of bringing comfort to you. Dealing realty, call RJ Kielty, they'll get your system working to cool you down. And if fixing a leak is what you seek, RJ Kielty service is the best around. RJ Kielty, plumbing, heating, cooling, over 50 years of bringing comfort to you.
Welcome to episode 20. That's right. 20 episodes. That's pretty crazy to think.
I know.
20 episode, Kielty's Corner. I'm here with Taylor.
Hi, guys.
And I got Ed Burke here, State Farm. There's the man.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me.
He did not bring his khakis.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. No
guys.
khakis. So
I get picked on for the khakis all the time. Grocery store, gas station. I know you. I don't know you. People are going. They're like, where's Jake? I'm like, I don't know him.
There's always those guys.
Yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good. It means the branding is working.
That's right. Perfect.
They're doing a good job then. So.
And honestly, you guys do an amazing job of that. I mean, your guys' pictures, your wife, your coworkers and stuff like that. Just the image is absolutely perfect. I'm always envious of that. So you guys do an amazing job.
Thank you. It's
your
all
family,
the
perfect. Yeah.
All the
I know her. Yeah, she is.
Yeah, listen, every time we're taking pictures, I'm not jacked about it. But then they come back, I'm like, oh my God,
so
these are
good,
incredible.
right?
Why don't we do more of these?
Yeah.
Just like, don't do that to me. So yeah, it's been awesome.
So let's talk about insurance, right?
Yeah.
What got you started in insurance?
Well, when all of my friends were like out playing basketball and doing all that stuff, I was like, listen, man, you're never going to make it to the NBA. I want to be an insurance agent when I grow up. And that's right. That's what every kid dreams of. No, I was, going to college, kind of like floundering, right? I was like on my 6th year of a 4-year degree, right? Really crushing it, right?
That's
not
awesome,
really knowing.
I recommend it. I got it done early. My brother took he took a victory lap, and I'm like, man, you did it right. I did it wrong.
Yeah. So I stayed a little bit past my welcome there, but kind of floundering, I think, like with a lot of people, right? Not really exactly sure what you want to do. And so I was going to school and I was working at a restaurant, and I had a family friend who's my mentor now, and just was asking a ton of questions about what he did. And that's always how it goes. If I'm really interested in something, I'm going to ask a million questions. Like, that's how I learn. So I think that kind of stuck with him. And then also just knowing my personality and knowing me the way that he did, I think he was like, hey, you'd probably be good at this. So a couple months later, he had reached out and said, like, do you want to come give this a try? And I was like, absolutely. So went, and I've loved it. I've loved it ever since. What changed it for me, he took me very early on in my career to deliver a death claim check, which sounds like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd be like I was. He didn't tell me. Like, we got in the car and I'm like, where are we going? And he's like, oh, we're gonna go deliver a death claim check. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I mean, I'll wait in the car. I'm 1,000%, not doing that. He's like, yeah, I want you to come. I want you to see what this is like. So we did. We went, and what I was expecting to be like this miserable, very sad, type situation. It was the opposite of that. The family welcomed us in. Asked us to stay for lunch. Mike, who is my mentor, went through everything. There was some tears, but happy tears. And left that meeting like it was like completely eye-opening to me. It was like I kid you not, it was right then in that drive back to the office. I'm like, I want to do this. Like, this is what I wanted to do.
You're like helping people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
even
like
though it's a sad situation, this is something that they needed, that they at least got that stress off their backs.
Exactly. It's like I think all insurance, right? But life insurance, especially, it's like, it's not going to take away any of the bad stuff. Like, there's still going to be that stuff there, but to be able to not have to worry about the financial aspect of it, like, that alone, especially in the life insurance piece, it's not going to bring anyone back. It's not going to make the day any less sad. It's not going to, make you grieve any faster. But what it is going to allow you to do is, grieve on your timeline, right? With your if it's auto insurance or anything else. Yeah, it stinks that your car's wrecked and you have all that stuff, but you don't have to worry about if it's done correctly. You don't have to worry about all that financial stuff that comes along with it. And you just can continue on. So you're just recovering from the unexpected. And that was like, that drove that point home, it was crystal clear leaving there. Isn't it, especially I was like 25 years old or something like that, at that time. It's like life insurance was the furthest thing from my brain, You're like, I'm invincible. Like nothing's ever bad is going to happen to me. So seeing that, I realized like right then, like, oh, this is what we're doing. Like, this is what insurance is doing. And it sold it for me right there. And I'm a people person anyway. So I like talking with people and solving problems and doing that type of stuff. So it made it, crystal clear. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And then we just, my mentor was able to help me towards that path.
Yeah, I want to talk about Mike. I've known Mike a lot like that. Yeah. Really, really great guy.
Oh, Nikki's in the comments already.
Heart
Nikki
eyes. Says, hi, babe.
Heart eyes for babe.
So how important was it to have somebody like Mike Peters, who's literally done it forever, to mentor you, to take him under your wing, to learn everything?
Yeah. So crucial. I think a strong mentor is, worth their weight in gold, because you got to have somebody that's willing to take the extra steps with you and is willing to slow down for you to speed up. Right. Because without that, you can kind of emulate what you see, but there's so much, I think, in all businesses, right? There's so much that goes on kind of behind the scenes and mentality that goes into it. Right. And all of those things where if that person doesn't feel the need to bring you along, then you got to kind of figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
And even sometimes, your mentor being like letting you make the mistake to then be able, like, yes, like that, you did that, you learned this lesson. This is kind of, how that process goes.
I do that a lot with my guys.
Right. Exactly.
Because I don't want to, there's creative thinking and everything else. I have this idea. I'm like, it ain't gonna work. But I'm like, we've already tried it. But I'm like, let them try it. You know what I mean? And then like, hey, well, this is why, you know what I mean? It doesn't work, or
there's so much value in that.
There is. You learn. You're programming your brain too to think creatively, to think outside the box. You're not just a robot.
I feel like when you do something and you fail, you learn how to not do that even more than if you go to do something and someone's like, no,
don't do that.
Don't do it that way. I feel like you retain it more when you do something incorrectly and then you have to turn around and fix whatever mistake it is. It's like that sticks in your brain and you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that again. And now I know not to do that. So
and that kind of, like, I see that with my team, you know what I mean? From time to time, if I can jump in and be like, no, we don't do it that way. We do it this way. Or no, you need to call this and make this happen. That type of deal, where if I do it that way, right, the next time they may come back to me and ask that same exact question, and I have to tell them the same exact answer. But if I let them go down that path and then they, either make the mistake or go the long way to get there, right? Yeah. Like it actually solidifies. It's like, oh, okay, this is the way that I need to do it next time. It resonates.
Yeah. And this is the reasons why, some people just don't understand that part of it. There's a reason why we do this. And we have this policy, this procedure in place. You know what 100%. I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike was able to do all of I still, to this day, call Mike and ask, his opinions on thing. And Mike is really great. I think the other thing with, having a mentor is, especially somebody that's done it longer than you, is like, they've seen all of these things before. So like, where I'm calling and I could be like, I can't believe this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, he's that calm reason, that voice of reason to be like, listen, here's kind of the way that you need to think about it, shaping it that way. But he allows me to get everything out, right? Hear all my concerns, and then, brings me back to earth a little bit. And I think for business owners, I mean, God, you need that, because it can feel like you're alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you really can, especially in times when times are really, really tough. You could feel like you're kind of, you know, I don't know about you, but you know, my wife will tell me that I do a really bad job of letting her know when something is, you know, bothering me. And it's like, because I don't want to put that, you know, this work burden on anybody else, you know. And I think I'm doing a
just
great job.
yesterday, my wife could tell, but I'm like, you know, sometimes I don't want to talk about it either because I got to relive it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I'd
yeah.
rather just, you know what
Just
I
try
mean?
to move
Yeah,
past
move
it, you
on
know?
it. Yeah, I'm a
And I
solutions guy. So
exactly, exactly. And I'm like, you know, I think I'm doing like a really good job
Yeah.
of like being like normal Ed. And she's like, no, you're like a wacko right now. You're not hiding it well at all. You know, so you know, it's tough sometimes as business owners to share because you start this business and this journey, you know, and you have all these people that have helped you along, but you know, you don't want to burden anybody or, you know, talk about the bad, right? We only want to talk about the good and the successes, but the failures and the hard times and all of that, like that's what makes you a rounded business owner. That's what will hopefully, you know, allow me to be a mentor to somebody else is the tough times. And the good times, everybody's, you know, you're all good.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Everything's all rainbow and
Mhm.
sunshines. It's all good. But in the tough times, you know, to have somebody there that you can, you know, not only has been there before, so they know what you're feeling, they've gone through that, and they can give you some wisdom back. So Mike's the absolute man. I love him to death.
And then in turn for that, as you make mistakes and you learn, then you can be that person
Yeah.
for somebody else.
Right.
So it goes full circle.
Yeah, you turn exactly. You just try to pass it down. I always tell my team, like, I want this place to be like a launch pad for you. If you want to stay in my office and be a team member at Ed Burke's, you know, office and you know, try to, you know, work your way up the ranks within the office, that's great. But I also want you to be, you know, every day learning something, whether it's through just, you know, business itself, insurance, is it, you know, team building, like something like that. Use this place as a launch pad, you know what I mean, to further yourself. My team, for the most year, I mean, we're all young. I'm the oldest person in my office. So they're all young, which keeps me feeling super young. But you know what I mean? But you use this place and try to learn every single day and, you know, use this place as a launch pad. We all know through through the monotony of the day, you have these tedious things that are like annoying, but you got to try to make each day a win, right? Like grab something throughout the day that you're using as a lesson, or you could say, oh, I won here. I learned this, you know, I did that. You have to try to do that and escape from the whirlwind, which is just your normal day.
Yeah.
So yeah, trying to be a mentor to, you know, to anybody that will listen. I love helping people. So that's not just helping people with insurance, but helping people in any aspect that I can.
That's what really fills my cup too. And I haven't talked about this, but you know, I was lucky to have my dad as a mentor and then his friends as mentors and stuff too. And just the advantage that gives you to have somebody that you can lean on. When I got out of college, we had that big recession and we were literally bleeding hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, which sounds like horrible, but for me, it was the biggest blessing I ever had because I was able to, instead of being a small part of the business, kind of in a little function, you know what I mean? I was able to, I'm like, oh, we got a cold call today. You know, back in the day, we were faxing even. So we're faxing, we're faxing stuff, cold calling people, you know, collecting money at that point. A lot of the builders and you know, frankly, homeowners, whatever, they didn't have the money. So we were trying to collect money, stay afloat. And at the same time open up different divisions and stuff like that. So that is just, you know,
The hard
having the right
times,
person is just, you know,
the hard times is what, you know, I feel like we were saying, you know, when everything's going great, you know, when everything's going swimmingly, it's tough in those points to, as like, I think as business owners to grow as as a, like a business owner, right? Because you're like, everything I touch is golden. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm great. People are spending money.
Why am I
just,
so
I
good
can't
at
do it all. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, I can't believe how good I am at this, you know? And then like you have like that little bit of a downturn, you're like, wait a second. But, you know what I mean? Like that's where you know, when you're thrown into the fire, when you have that little bit of downturn, it's tough. It's tough because you're mentally used to just winning. But like you said, like at that point, it was like, okay, you're thrown to the fire and you got to start to make decisions and make moves and move in the right direction. And it makes you better at this thing because of it. Although at the time you're like, this is the first step.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
kind of go back to the basics and you're like, we made all these decisions because we were just growing so fast, but now we got to start looking at every single
Yeah.
line
Yeah.
item and make sure it makes sense and you're
Yeah.
getting good ROI out of it and your people, back to the basics of training and really kind of,
Yeah.
hustling or whatever to make it work,
Because when when times are really good, I tell that to the team all the time. When everything's going great for us, you're fishing with dynamite essentially,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, that's not working as great as it was, or we're not doing as well as we were. Well, yeah, like you have to re-examine what you were doing because when everything's so good, it's easy to kind of let the basics slip away
Yeah.
and the processes and the things that made us get to the level of success that you did slowly start to fade away, the little things. And those are the little things are the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You know?
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I deal with that all the time with my people. I'm like, back to basics, back to,
Mhm.
COVID happens and, we're so booked up, I can't even market. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
we're turning down customers, which is like kills me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
Cause I
tough.
think we can take care of them the best. You know what I mean? So and I always look at the lifetime value as a customer and everything too. So, getting back to the basics, when stuff is so good for so long, even just like you said, your team too, they're just so used to, the phones are going to ring. It doesn't matter. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? No, if it slows down, now your guys are like, hey, I'm used to 50 hours a week or whatever. Now I'm not getting overtime or now I'm working 30 hours a week. We need to change something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it puts you,
You
put
lose
you
that
back in the seat.
edge, that
Mhm.
dangerous edge you want to try to
Yep.
keep. You just
Yeah.
lose it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about you're working with Mike Peters and you're like, hey, I want to go on my own. Let's talk about kind of that process and was it more than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah. 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 So I ended up working for Mike for 10 years. As I was getting into you go into this thing called agency pool. There's like this it's a pretty long process you need to follow. Not crazy long, but there's things that you got to get done. You got to make sure all your licensing is done. There's background checks, there's credit checks, there's all that's personality profiles, all that stuff. And as I was just getting into that, they stopped putting new agents on in Florida for a little bit. Right.
Ooh.
So, Mike had called me into his office. I was nervous. Like one of the only times he closed the door to talk to me. I was like, am I getting fired right now? Like, what's that? But he told me what was going on, that we are going to put new agents on for a little bit. And he said, I know you're kind of ready to do your thing. So if, we can look some other avenues for you. And I was upset naturally. But after sitting with it a little bit, I went back to him. It was like a day or two later. And I'm like, I don't, I want to stay with State Farm and I want to ride this thing out. So if you're okay with me being here, then this is where I want to be. I love the company that I work for. I love, being here. I'm proud of the company that I work for. So this is what I want to do. So, like I said, from front to end, it was like 10 years almost exactly. And thinking about it now, it's like if I would have got into agency and got it in that time then, I don't know if I'd be, you know, as successful. I was younger and then there were so many things that I could, continue to learn. So everything I feel like happens for a reason. And so once that opened back up, I needed about a year to get myself all squared away and set up. We started that process, and then it was middle of 2016, and opening in Trinity came up, which was
Mhm.
crazy because you have to do
Yeah.
like a
I was
business plan.
just going to say that. I'm like, that is like,
Nutty,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely nutty. And you have to do a business plan. You have to present it to corporate of where, if you had an agency and what your business plan would look like. And I kid you not, I did Trinity and I had to use an address for my office. And the office address that I used is now my address
Really?
now. So that was the one that I submitted, less than a year later. That's the one that came up. I applied for it and then,
Hey.
was blessed enough to get it. And it was, like I said, it was like lightning had struck at that point, right? The Trinity is starting to explode. Um, you know, it was where I wanted to be anyway. And it's just continued. We've been super, super blessed with Trinity, Odessa, and, all that coming there.
Yeah.
So is like State Farm, how does that work? Is there like a radius? You can only have a State Farm within a radius, or is it like populous, how much people, or is it?
Yeah, so State Farm decides where they're putting, agencies, essentially, and that's
Mhm,
exactly right. Like they base it off of agents in the area and population and that type of
mhm,
deal. They use all statistics on their side, and then they post like, "Hey, we want to put an agent in this zip code." And then if you've gone through all those steps and you're in that agency pool, then you have the ability to throw your name in
mhm,
throw your name in there and submit a business plan and then see if you get chosen as one of the 3 or 5 people that they're going to interview,
mhm.
and then they base it off of that. So,
Okay, so then you actually have to get interviewed then too.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So
You had to go up there, or they come to you,
the
or?
way that I did it then, I don't know how they do it now, but the way that I did it then, it was you went to an office and there was 3 people there and one area vice president on like a conference call type deal, like your screen you got
Mhm,
there.
yeah.
And then you present your business plan and they, ask you a bunch of questions and you try not to let your voice crack all that much or sweat too much. Yeah, but it went out.
Everything's riding on this.
Yeah, right. Like no
10
big deal. I've
years.
worked
Play it
10
cool.
years of
Play it
my life
cool.
for this moment right here. But I felt great. I got out of that interview. I remember this first. I'm not ashamed to say it. I cried like a baby for a little bit when I got back to my car because I felt like I had done everything that I can. It was just like a culmination of like all of
Mhm,
this time that I spent. Like I really felt like it was my time. Like this was had lined up perfectly. And then I called my wife and I told her, I'm like, if I didn't get it, then it's just not meant to be because
Yep.
I don't think I could have done any better in the interview that I did. I said everything that I wanted to say. I asked them at the end. I asked them for the opportunity.
mhm,
I told them, hey, I've grown up here. I'm starting a family here. I want to be the one to be a part of the community and take the brand name and be everything that the State Farm agent is, like right here in this community. You know, I want that opportunity. So I ask people for, every single day to let me be the person. So I'm going to ask you guys to let me be the person here. So I got at that meeting and I felt like that was it. Like again, if I didn't get picked for it, then God's got other plans for me. Like
mhm.
this isn't my time. Drove home, felt really, really good. I got it the call 2 days later, and they're like, "Go time, let's go."
That's
Heck yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, super jacked. I swear to God, I get goosebumps every time. Look at her, I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
goosebumps every time telling that story because it was such a pivotal point in my life, and like I love what I do, and I love who I do it for, and just being able to help. So super jacked about it. Yeah,
How long ago
Oh,
was
that's
that?
awesome.
2017 we opened, which seems like insane because it feels like it was 2 years ago. But yeah, 2017 we opened.
I remember that and your posts and your place
It's
and the
crazy,
State Farm
man.
in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's absolutely crazy to think about. So it's exciting, and you start that journey, and everything. You're like running around like with your hair on fire.
Mhm.
You
That's
know?
what I was gonna ask. What was like the toughest thing that first year?
Oh my god, gosh, that's a great question.
He's like, hold on, let me
Yeah.
count all the
Yeah, so
things.
we started New Market, which is a little bit different. So no book of business to start. So when we opened the doors day one, it was me, my brother worked with me at
Yeah.
Mike's office. I didn't think my brother was going to come with me because I
Yeah.
wasn't going to be able to afford him, right?
Yeah.
But when we got the agency, he was just so jacked. He's like, I want to be there and I want to
Mhm.
be there from day one. And thank God, because I couldn't have done any of this
Yeah.
without him. So that first year, the phones don't ring. There'd be
Mhm.
days where I'd be like, Brian, call the office with your cell phone.
Mhm.
Just like make sure that these
Make sure
phones
the
work.
line's open.
You know what I mean? They're not ringing ever, which is like really weird. But Brian had done it for like 6 years by that time. I had done it by 10 years. So we were just gonna roll up our sleeves and we were gonna get in there and just make it happen. Right. And it's just, I think when you start a business, you don't think all that much about the failures, right? Or
Mhm.
like the tough days. You're like, I know how to do this. I feel like I'm really good at it. Like, I'm just gonna get in there and I'm just gonna be successful from day one. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never gonna look back. And at the time I worked in or lived in Land O'Lakes. We were moving this way, but we lived in Land O'Lakes. So I would remember like there would be days where I would just drive home with like the radio off. And I'd be like, why did I do this? Like I was making a really good living doing this. I didn't have any stress, any cares at all. You know what I mean? Like, why did I
The
do
calls
this?
just come to me.
Yeah,
And
right. I'm just
"Yay!"
like, I've made my the toughest part for the first year was just kind of, going from being a part of a really successful agency that had everything in place and, it just kind of ran and I was a big part of that and being that to now it was like, okay, we're starting at day one. There's nothing here. Like you're starting your foundation today. So on some days it was great. We'd come home, be like, oh, I talked to a bunch of people. And then there'd be other days where I'm driving home, like, I talked to 2 people today. Like
all
all day
day.
long.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Honestly, sounds kind of peaceful.
yeah, well, yeah.
but
Yeah,
not when you start
Not
your
for your
business.
bank account.
I made 300 phone calls today. I talked to 2
Two
people.
people.
You know what I mean? So there's some of that. And that was like the biggest thing was just understanding that, hey, Mike was here and you're starting here.
Yep.
And, that's okay. There's a lot that's going to come there. There's so many lessons to be learned and, a ton of time to get from here to there. So you got to be okay with that. You got to understand that there's going to be lumps and there's going to be bumps and there's going to be, speed bumps and all of these things that come along, but keep pushing forward. Remember why you're doing it. Why did I want to do this? Every time we were able to help somebody. We used to have a bell that we used to ring.
Oh, really?
That was
cool.
awesome. Yeah. You write it down on the board. It was only me and Brian in the office. But we'd still be like, ding, 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 ding. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I got
heck
5,
yeah.
ding, ding, like super excited. You know what I mean? So yeah, the bell would get you jacked up, but it's tough. Anybody that tells you starting a business isn't tough, well, tell me what you're doing. I want to open one.
Mhm.
You
I
know
have
what I
to
mean?
say,
I know,
I
right?
tried to go into health insurance.
Health insurance is
I
a
failed the
beast.
test like 5 times.
Yeah.
And then finally I was like, this just obviously is
I
not for
know.
me.
Yeah.
It was just so much information that you have to know. And then you do life insurance and you do auto and home too, right?
So we do auto, we do home, we do business, we do disability, life, like you said, major part of what we do. Yeah. So
There's a lot of
You got to know a
information
lot.
to
Yes.
retain.
So I take care of all of our insurance stuff, and we're actually in a captive
Mhm.
Mhm.
on for general liability and I'm sorry, not general liability, auto and workman's comp. We weren't able to get general liability, but just going through the ins and outs. People don't realize how much is involved in insurance, and I'm only on this end of it, let alone you. You know what I mean? You
I'm
guys have
sure.
to work. So.
Yeah, I'm sure you're super jacked every time you get a talk.
No, I know.
Insurance. I know. Like I'll be talking about like insurance at like dinner, you know what I mean? And my wife will be like, "We know he's weird. This gets him jacked up. We don't know why. He's a strange individual." But it's like that's the deal. Like I understand for 97% of people, like the last thing that you want to be dealing with is insurance. So that's why we have to be good at what we do and and good at conversation so that it makes it digestible and you have the knowledge. My job is never to flat out tell you this is what you're going to get. You're going to get this and this is that's not my deal. I've never been like that. You'll find people that do it that way and that's great. That works for some people's personalities. That's just never been me. I'm like more of you tell me about you and what you have going on. I'll tell you about what you got. Okay. I'll educate you on what that stuff is. I can give you an idea of the gaps that I see. And now you have all of the knowledge and you have me there to ask questions. Right now you have,
Arm 'em.
yeah, you have all of the knowledge. Now you make the decision, is this the best fit for you? And is my office, and State Farm the best fit for you? But you take that with you. And then, you make that decision there for yourself. So, that's kind of the job in a nutshell. I always hated telling people like, oh, I'm in sales or even insurance, right? Because you're like, oh, I sell insurance for a living, and people are like, oh, Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all right, don't sell me, bud. You know, like that type of deal. I've never been that type of person. I don't have that. It's more like education, because I can't tell you that there is, I'm sure, I mean, you know, with
Mhm.
your business too, like if you went on the internet, like insanely bad information out there.
Oh yeah.
Like, insanely bad.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yep.
so
And then it goes then on the social media because people are just
yeah.
puking out what they seen on, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. And
False
then,
information.
right. And then
Yeah.
like underneath the comments, it's like, well, this.
They
and I'm
swear
like,
by it.
oh God, this is so bad.
Don't do
So
that.
don't do that. I mean, well, I'll like sometimes just like direct message
Yeah.
somebody. I'm like, hey, so that's, you know, it's actually incorrect, you know, like to try to help there. But that, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I know, like I said, people aren't jacked about insurance. You start a business, you're not like, I always say, like, you start a business, you have this thing that you're like super jacked about.
Mhm.
So you're like, I'm gonna go into business. This is how I'm gonna provide for my family. This is how I'm gonna do all these
Mhm.
things. And you got like 15 boxes you got to check
Mhm.
from the time you decide that you're gonna do it to like opening,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Oh,
One of
yeah,
those
100%.
boxes is insurance.
Mhm.
And when you get to that one, no one is ever like, yes, let's do. I've been waiting
Not gonna
for
lie, I
box.
dread it.
Yeah.
Every year, I'm like,
Oh, I've
oh.
been waiting for box 8. I am so jacked to talk about it. Nobody's ever like that, right? But
Mhm.
it is that one thing that can end your
Mhm.
baby. If you don't have the right type of insurance in place, or you're not having those conversations, it could be the thing that puts an end to it, puts a stop to it. So it is so important, and it's important to revisit it, because when you're one man and a truck,
Yeah.
right? What you need
Gone.
today, or yeah, but
Yeah.
what you need today and what worked for you on the first year, and then you fast forward 3 years, right? Think all the people that started a business in
Yeah.
COVID, right? Some of the folks that just had this extreme leap
Mhm.
from, you know, from in the COVID years, right? Now you're in year 3, year 4, year 5. Now you got 5 trucks and you got employees and
Yep.
3 trailers and this, that. Never go back to revisit what your insurance is. You got one man and a truck insurance.
Yep.
Now you got a big business, right? So, you know, it's crucial for folks, and that's just not on the business side, that's on personal side. It's all types of insurance. It's really important to revisit it. All your insurance policy is a promise.
Yeah.
You promise you're going to pay your premiums, and then the company promises, all right, these are the coverages that you have. Something's gonna,
Yep.
you know. So you pay your premiums, and you got this thing from year 1,
Yeah.
and now you need year 5 insurance.
Yeah.
And insurance isn't cheap, and it's not something that people like doing. So if you're
Yeah.
paying,
Especially in our area. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, especially in our area, Florida, but even so, Pasco,
Yeah.
right? You're paying for something that is a lot of money, because insurance isn't, cheap. And then you go to use that insurance and it's not what you thought it was, right?
Which,
You're not a happy camper.
how many times have you seen that?
Yeah,
A
I
lot.
see that a lot. I talk to a lot of people, again, in personal side and just business, where I'll look, kind of get the coverages of what we're carrying now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dear Lord, we need to talk like right now, right now. This happened like 6 months ago with a company that we were looking at their stuff, and they had some regular trucks, but they also had like a dump truck on there. And then I'm looking at what they carry for liability, and I'm like, it's all over if that dump truck that has your name all down the side of it hits somebody. Like it's over. It's over at this point.
Yeah, you had your company, whatever, 52 years, and it could be over like that if you.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing. It's the most dangerous thing. Unless you're like a logger, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you work on electrical lines or something like that. But for most people, the most dangerous thing, the biggest liability, factor that we do every single day is when I leave here, I'm going to strap myself into a missile that I call a car, and I'm going to drive it down the road. And that's the biggest threat to liability. It's the biggest threat to me, period. Right. At my age, a car accident is probably the top, if I were to pass, one of the top reasons that it would be that I would
Correct.
pass
Yeah.
at this age,
Mhm.
right? But you don't think about it like that because you drive your car every single
day.
day and you've been doing it since you were 16 or 17 years old. So it's not something that you think about. Oh, yeah. No one, I tell my kids this all the time because we fight about having to put their seatbelt on, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, in my 18
I do that
years,
wrestle.
yeah, right, every day. Do I have to sit in the seat? I'm like, am I going to take the car from park to drive? Then yes, you have to
Yep.
sit in your seat.
Yep.
You know, it's like in my 18 years of doing this, no one has ever picked up the phone and I could answer it in the morning. They're like, Ed, get the auto claim started. I'm wrecking my car today. Like, I'm just going to
Yeah.
get into an auto
Yeah.
accident. I've had enough. It's never happened that way. It's
Mhm.
called an accident for a reason. How many people do you talk to when you're talking about driving? Are they like, oh, I'm a terrible driver?
Yeah.
Not
A
many.
lot.
Do you have a lot of people?
I have a lot.
Every person that I talk to is the greatest driver. They've never had any
Well, they're
issues.
100% going to tell you that.
Yeah, right.
I'm an oopsie
Yeah,
driver,
yeah, well,
so
that's
I'm
understand.
guilty.
You know, hey, I've been in 4 accidents. All of them were not at fault.
Don't matter.
You know what I mean? It's tough to get into 4 non-at-fault accidents in the last 3 years. Like that's a
Yeah.
pretty difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
everybody thinks there's a great driver, right? And everybody thinks that I'm never going to get into an auto accident. It's never going to happen, you know, to me. But you know,
It
look at the
does.
numbers. It sure does, especially,
Yeah.
you know, in our area.
And then now with litigation and stuff, everything's just so much money. That's why obviously
Yeah,
everything
you
keeps
know,
going up.
and that's the deal too for a business owner. If you, I say this for everyone, okay? If you drive a nice vehicle, if you are, you know, wearing a collared shirt or in, you know, some sort of business attire, if you have a company logo on your shirt or on the side of your vehicle, or any of that. Okay.
Yeah.
If one of those 5 things you meet one of them, there's a great possibility that you're going to get sued.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you, it's like so many times I'll talk to somebody who'll call me and be like, oh, I tapped this person at a light. It wasn't a big deal. There was like a little scuff. No big deal. They said, you know, it's not, we'll just exchange information and we'll get it all figured out, you know, and then they talk to their brother or, you know, see something on social media or whatever the case may be. And the next thing you know, it's a bigger thing than it was at the site. So you have to do your best to protect yourself
Mhm.
against that. And again, what you decide your level of protection is, like, as long as you know what it is and you know, the shield that you've placed in front of yourself, as big or as small as you want to have it. If you know what that is, then that's great. You've done your part. I can
Yep.
check that box and be like, had the conversation, they completely understood what they had, they were fine with what they had, and that's the deal. It's all give and take
Mhm.
with insurance. You know, I'm going to carry higher deductibles. It's going to make my premium lower. I'm okay knowing I'm going to have more out of pocket should something happen to keep the premium down.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to have a bunch of out of pocket. I don't want a bunch of skin in the game. I'm going to carry, you know, the lowest deductibles and the highest amount of coverage and know my premium is going to be higher, but that's what's going to be the best fit for me.
Mhm.
And then you do that.
Mhm.
And that's great because you have a plan.
Exactly. As long as, yeah, you have the money in the bank and you think that, hey, that's not going to hurt me too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, you take some of that apparent risk, you
Yeah,
know?
there's skin in the game for you. And that's cool. You know it. What I don't ever want is, I always tell everybody, you know, let's have the coverage conversation today so that I'm not having it on your worst day. You know, like
Yes.
you're standing on the side of the road or you're
Yeah.
standing in your front yard, you know, and fire department's there,
Yep.
right? Or you know, the absolute worst case scenario, one of your family members is calling me to say, "Hey, this happened last night." Um, you know, at that point, the coverage
Yeah.
conversation is just
Too late.
it is what it is
Yep.
Yeah.
at this point, you know. So you again, like we were saying, if I wreck my truck, I know it stinks, you know, but
Mhm.
I know what type of coverage I have. I know the plan that I have in
Yep.
place. That part of it is off the table for me.
Yeah.
I'm good. You know, the absolute worst thing, if I were to pass, right? You know I've taken care of all of that stuff.
Mhm.
So you know, we don't want to talk about my insane fear of death. I don't want to cry on here today,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But the one thing that I do know is that if God forbid when something happens to me, right? Not if, but when something happens, whether it's old age or whatever the case may be, I have my plan in place, and my family's going to be okay on the financial side and all of that. So it's all about a plan and revisiting that plan as you go through life. Insurance is not a set it and forget it type deal. You think about how much your guys' life has changed in the last 3 years.
I know, I'm just
5
running through that stuff in my brain right now.
Sure.
Yeah,
it's crazy,
Yeah.
right? It's absolutely crazy. So if you were
Mhm.
doing the same thing that you were doing 5 years ago, it's like if you started a retirement plan when you were 23
Mhm.
years old, and then you never changed the amount that you put in or the product that you ran, or you didn't get with somebody to help you with that stuff. And at 51, you're doing the same thing you were doing at your 23. You're probably not doing the correct thing anymore.
You definitely left a lot of money on the
You left a
table.
lot of
Yeah.
money on the table, right?
Stuff change all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to switch gears a little bit because I see Nikki on there.
Amanda Johnson.
yeah.
Hello, Greg.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Jumps with the fist bumps.
But how important is it to have, because I think you're a perfect example, have somebody, a woman, have somebody like Nikki on your side in business to keep you straight?
Oh God, man. I mean, so I've said this to her numerous times, and now I'll say it to the entire universe.
Mhm.
There's without a doubt, 100%, zero chance that I'd be, where we are today and be able to help as many people as we've helped, and even being a part of the community as we are now, like without Nikki. Here's the deal, right? You ready for this? That agency opening that I got in Trinity, when it first came out, it was listed as a new market. That's how I opened, with no customers. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, I don't think that I can do that.
Mhm.
And Nikki was like, Nikki does a really incredible job of, being able to explain to me, why I'm selling myself short.
Yep.
Right. And in the way that
Mhm.
I need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, in the way that I need it. Me and Nikki have an incredible relationship. So she'll know when it's time to be like, you're going to be absolutely fine. Or her being like, that's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
you need to, understand how good you are at this thing, why you've grown to the level of success that you have. This is your time. You can, like, that type of talk. So without Nikki, I don't even know that I would have, and I could tell you, I wouldn't have, because I was super nervous as
Mhm.
starting that. I wouldn't even apply for Trinity,
Mhm.
and then we get Trinity, and it's, like you said, you start off, it's tough. If I didn't have her there to, again, to like prop me up and keep me going, and in the tough times be like, this is how it's supposed to go. Like,
Yep.
you're starting a business. This is
You're gonna be fine.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you're fine. Keep doing what you're doing. You're really good at your job. Um, it'd be over, and continuing to do that, even through now, the problems change, but there's still problems there. And for her she's always my biggest fan, and she always will keep it straight with me and tell me exactly, what she's seeing, and if I'm being too hard on myself, or if I'm letting things slip and giving myself excuses as to why, like, you know, she's there to be like, no, you need to do this, this, and this. And in a way that, again, like, with our relationship, that's the way that it works. She's always going to shoot me straight. She knows when I need to be like, it's okay, everything's
Yeah.
good.
Coddled.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Coddled. Yeah, no, without Nikki, there is none of this. I'm probably still an insurance, State Farm agent somewhere, but does my agency look like it looks now? No. 0.00% chance
Heather
of that.
stole what I was gonna say about Nikki being your biggest cheerleader, because she really is. I mean, video, she's like, "Hey, it's Ed. Can you share? Can you
Mhm.
interact with this?"
Mhm.
I'm like, "Absolutely." And then I
Yeah.
actually end up. It's good because I actually end up watching them, because I mean, it's educational. It's good information to know, especially as, like, I mean, I'm a young adult, but I am going into my adulthood now.
Mhm.
And so some of the videos that you do are actually really insightful, because it's like things that me as a young adult going into adulthood, it's good to know because those aren't the things you really think of. If I'm honest with you, like even now at 31 with 3 kids, insurance isn't like the thing I wake up and I'm like, oh, I didn't make sure I have good insurance today.
Let's do this insurance.
And then like, you know, I watch your videos and I'm like, these are all really good reasons as to why I should make insurance a priority. Like, it's important. It's very important.
Yeah. And I'm never jacked to do those videos. Like, if you come and be like, hey, we're going to do 3
says
videos.
that too.
And I'll be like, oh,
you do a good job though.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. But, you know, it's me, you know, staring at a camera in my face, and I'm like, oh God.
Get one of those little light rings or anything.
Oh yeah, bro. Oh, yeah.
Nikki's like, hey, let me set this up for you.
Like, yeah, let's illuminate this thing. Let's do that for sure.
I struggled with that too.
Yeah,
I always tell him
it's
all the
tough.
time. He's like, do these videos. I'm like, it's so hard to like sit in a room
You're
by
doing a good job
yourself
with them, though.
and talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Like I have so many bloopers. Josh knows this. Josh is in the background. I have so many bloopers where like I mess up. It's even funnier though when you're by yourself and you do it because you're just like, okay, well, let's go ahead and do this again.
I always tell her, I'm like, hey, you know, when because by the time we're done, there's like 10 videos on there. I'm like, you need to really double check you're doing the right one.
Make sure you post the correct
like please watch
version of this video.
Not the one where I'm making weird faces in the beginning. Right? It's like terrible. But then we get done with them and then she posts them like, that's great. You know, it's like this. It's same with
it's better than you think it's gonna be.
Always.
We were talking about this in network meetings and stuff like that. You think you sound dumb when you're doing it and blah blah blah, but then when you really think about it and you post it and you wait a day, you're like,
it's
not
great.
bad, you know.
And the amount of people. So if you're a business owner and you're on the fence about doing this, and I know like Reagan talks about this a bunch, right? Like video and all of that. If you're on the fence about doing it, I you know, hate doing them.
Yeah.
Right. I ask my wife all the time, is that how my voice sounds in real life? Because it doesn't sound like that coming out of my body. I don't know what happens between here and there, but it sounds weird. You know what I mean? So I hate doing that. But people will watch a video, especially if, you know, we're all jacked about what we do. Right. And if you talk about it with that excitement that you have, about it, is then people are interested in that, and people will spend, you know, far more time. If you think about, you know, 30 seconds of watching a video versus 30 seconds of reading, you know, how big's that post of 30 seconds? People are going to
nobody reads those posts.
Exactly, man. Like it's just not happening. But they'll watch a video, and if you can engage within the first, you know, 15 seconds where they're like, oh, okay, I'll give this thing a shot. People are going to pay attention to that. And I can't tell you how many people, it's been shocking to me how many people that I've talked to on the phone recently or have come up to me or I see them at somewhere and they're to say the same thing. Like, hey, I watched your video on this and I loved it, or that. And I'm telling you, I would tell Nikki when we first started doing this, I'm like, hey, nobody's watching these. Like, it's not going to happen. Nobody wants to watch insurance. And then we did the first one and she's like, look. And I'm like, well, as always, baby, you're right. And I'm very stupid. I don't know.
Well, you know, the crazy thing is too, it's not just what you're talking about. Cause you got to think initially when someone goes to click on a video, they don't know what you're about to talk about. It's you.
Yeah.
It's how you're presenting it. It's the passion that you have when you're talking about these subjects and these topics. They want to listen to you. They want to know what information you're sharing. Yeah. And it's relevant. They like
you got to be excited. You got, exactly. You got to be excited about it. There's days where I'll be like, I don't want to do this today. Like today's just not the day. Like I'm not on, you know what I mean? And I, you know, I don't want to do the video, which I feel like is important information. I don't want to do it, you know, disjustice by like, just to kind of go through the motions of it. No,
I
like,
go
I gotta
through that
be
too sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta be
I'll like watch something, and if I'm in a funk and I watch it, I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
So we have to redo this now until I believe what you're saying. And I also get a lot of interactions on that. You know, that's one of the main things people always say is like, when you do your videos, they're not perfect. They're not always like the most professional, you know, sleek ones, but they like that I'm excited about what I do. They like that I like working here and I like talking about it because it fulfills me. I like my job.
Yeah, right. And that, I mean, that has to shine through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For anybody to engage.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about community involvement. You guys are kind of everywhere. I know Marjorie's Hope, which, you know, I've known, Debbie forever,
Yes.
too.
Love you,
and-
Deb.
People.
Yeah, Deb's awesome.
Yeah, we do love you, Debbie.
Hopefully she's on Facebook now. I know
Yeah.
she was like,
Band.
Yeah.
I
she
don't know
got
if they've
hacked or
gotten
something,
that
or I don't know,
figured
whatever
out,
it was. But if you're listening to this, Deb, we all love you. But
yes, we do.
I know Nikki was super, super involved in that. You know what I mean? Before I even knew her out, from Deb, I hear, oh, this Nikki, she's taking care of it. She's the one who gets it done. I'm like, yeah. But I mean, you guys, not only that, I mean, everywhere, community events or whatever, you guys always just show up. How important has that been for your business?
Yeah, so incredible. Like I said, when I asked State Farm, for that spot in my community, where I've grown up, where I have centers of influence, where I think I'll be able to have the most impact in, carrying the brand to a community, because that means a lot. There's a lot of different ways, to run any business, right? But um, the way that we decided is that yes, we were going to be out front in front of our business and be a part of the community, and hop in and help where needed, and right off the bat in day one, and do that. It's been incredible. I think it sets a really good example for our children. It's in, we go and do the backpacks every year with Marjorie and
Mhm.
them, which is always in, we bring the kids. I think it's setting a great example for them.
Yep.
The team always comes, right? Because I want the team to understand, if you have that connection to the community, not, as a business owner, right? We feel it already. And same as
Yeah.
you, your name and your family's name is tied to this business. It's a representation of you.
Yeah.
So I want the same deal for my team members. I want them to feel that connection, so that when that person does call in and there's an issue, or, maybe something's gone left, that they understand, like, this is somebody that's in our neighborhood. They're a part of our community. They're a part of this thing. So through those community acts, you tie in, and you see, like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not just going to this office and dealing with this person that has insurance policy. This is actually like a neighbor of ours, right? So I think that's good. I think it also gives them the feel good about what they do and who they work for, and the brand, of State Farm that that we represent. So I think that's great for the team. And then I, for for me, it's super gratifying to be able to do that, to be able to lend a helping hand and help others in the community, because that's what we're doing, right? I'm trying to pay forward. I want to, it's the same as like with my kids. I want to lift my kids up as many notches as I can, right?
Yep.
That's what you're looking to do. Like, and it's the same like with the community. The community's been so awesome to us. I loved growing up here. I had an incredible childhood. Like, I want to do the same for less fortunate, and for these people that are doing these incredible things, like right here where we call home, and everybody wins, right? Everybody wins. I don't care about the banner at the
Yeah.
event. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I don't care about that type of stuff. Hey, the community where I call home, where I lay my head, are we making an impact in pushing it in the right direction?
Yep.
Or am I doing nothing? And I'm, not pushing in the wrong direction naturally, but am I doing nothing?
Yep.
You can never go to one of those events and not leave with
Smiling.
smiling
feeling
and
good.
happy. You know what I'm
1000%.
saying?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's
1000%.
that's like a recharge for me too.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Batteries juiced up.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but you're gonna have to finish this one out on your own.
Why, what do you got?
I got videos. I have an appointment at Kitty Up Ranch. By the way, we're having an event in April, autism awareness event from 12 to 3,
Ooh.
Kitty Up Ranch. Be there. I'm going to go do some advertisement for it.
Well, we got a egg drop too.
We also have the egg drop. We also have Gulf Harbors on April 4th is doing a family game movie night that we are sponsoring at the Civic Center. Then the 5th, we have our autism event. Then the 11th, we have the kickball and Easter egg drop event. Stay tuned to our Facebook. I'll have all types of videos and ads being posted for those events. And Ed, it's been fun. Tanner,
Yes.
Let you finish it
Well,
out.
I just got one more question, anyways.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess I'll stay for the
So-
last question.
Next 5 years, I always end with this.
Mm.
Where do you see yourself?
That's a great question. So, I'd like to get a second agency and duplicate what we've done here in this community here, in another community. So that's our
Oh, I love
goal.
that.
Yeah, that's our goal right now, to be able to do that, get a second agency, be able to bring on, more people and have more team members, give more people a career. Because I think insurance is a career, whether you stick with State Farm or you go elsewhere, you have the ability to earn a great living and do something that's fulfilling and help people. So, being able to bring more people on would be incredible. And to be able to do this thing that we're doing right now somewhere else, and help another group of people and be that, have those community roots and be a part of something in another area. That's our goal. Hopefully pre 5 years. I'd like it to be like the
Yeah,
next 2 or
Sooner
3.
than 5
Yeah, I know
years.
you've been working with like Austin Burkett too,
The
and
man.
getting Austin's.
We love
Yeah,
him.
he's been on
I
here
love
and
him.
just
So
Yeah,
smart,
so
like
smart.
So
yeah,
sweet,
Yeah.
humble,
yeah,
kind, giving.
incredible. And
all the
just
good
to take those
things.
time, just to take that time.
Yeah,
He's a super busy guy, right? And
Yeah.
to take like 2 hours once a
Mhm.
week and like dive into my numbers and like
yeah,
what I can do to grow and be better. Like, again, another like, mentor type
Mhm.
person in my life, because he's taking that time to help me get better.
yeah. He's kind of helping you dial down that recipe so that
Yeah.
hey, when you do grow and you do it, you know what I mean. You have that, you know what I mean, ready
Yeah,
to roll, and
that's exactly.
and it's efficient, and it's
Because it's scary, man. That's a
Yeah.
scary thing, Again, I'm trying to take this thing that I'm doing here and do it somewhere else. And it's like you realize when if I were to go to pick this thing up today, like maybe it's not, all the nuts and bolts aren't
Mhm.
tightened down as tight as I would like it to be,
Mhm.
because I'm not going to be able to be in 2 places at one time.
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna have to go back and forth between 2. So you're gonna have to make sure everything is super tight and efficient, and everyone understands what the game plan is and what our mission is and how we get that done. And, again, most of the time as business owners, we're like, yeah, no, we could do this. We could open another branch, no problem. This
Yeah.
one's running. And then you're like, oh, wait, but I'm not going to be at this one all the time now.
Yeah, so
I'm
people
gonna
are
be
asking
here
all
and here.
all these questions and stuff like
Yeah, you
that.
gotta
If you
make
don't have
sure.
detailed, standard operating procedures and expectations and follow up and
Mhm.
just
So dialing all that stuff in. So he's incredible, and he's helped us already so much. We've met with him for I think 5 or 6 weeks now. So already, because that was our goal.
Mhm.
And thankfully my wife, again, the brains
Mhm.
of the operation, was smart enough to be like, hey, we need to sit with him, and
Yeah.
he's willing to sit with us to kind of figure out how we could really scale. He told
Mhm.
me there's a big difference between growth and scale,
Mhm.
right? If
Oh,
you look at
100%. Yep.
what it takes to grow is going to be different than what it takes to scale.
Mhm.
So I needed to work on that portion of it, and also make sure that I'm doing it in a way that my baby, is
Yeah.
never affected by it.
Yep.
It's got to be just as good, run as smoothly and as perfect, and be able to help as many people today if I had a second one.
Yeah. I agree with that too.
So fingers
I'm
crossed.
so protective too.
Yeah. It's a baby. This is a baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, this was awesome, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
glad to have you.
I was
It was nice
nervous.
to like meet you
Oh,
and
they'll be
talk.
nervous. I know you're great on camera, so
Yeah, I know. What are you
Mhm.
nervous
Well,
for?
again, it's insurance. It'd be bad for the brand if you guys nodded out mid insurance talk. But yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Try to make it exciting and not exciting, but try to make it at least interesting so you can digest it. Yeah.
You're
So
doing
thank you
great.
guys so much for having me.
Thank you for being on with us.
Awesome.
guys. Cool.
That's it.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
See you guys.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.